Let's talk about the future. Exploring tomorrow's challenges today with our experts. A podcast by Air Liquide.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About the Future, the Air Liquide podcast, where we bring you experts to talk us through the world-changing solutions of our time. You could say that up to the present day, nothing has changed the world quite as much as human intelligence. But here we are at the dawn of a new era, that of artificial intelligence, a technology as fascinating as it is intimidating. Today, we'll be discussing the opportunities and challenges AI brings, its impact on our daily lives, and how companies are using it to develop new solutions. Joining us to make sense of it all is Fabien Mangeant, Director of Data and AI at Air Liquide. Hello, Fabien.
Hello, Vanessa.
Now, there's a lot of talk about the fourth industrial revolution, about Industry 4.0. Is AI really changing our lives to the extent that we can call it a revolution? Fabien Mangeant, let's see if you agree with Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
What do you think? Does it change us?
I think that this is a very good purpose. We are clearly interacting differently, communicating differently. We will have access to information and education in another way. And thanks to all these new devices with artificial intelligence. So clearly this will change us, but in the end, human will remain the same.
Yeah, it's changing our behavior more than our soul.
Exactly.
Now, we're hearing more and more about this fourth industrial revolution. On the one hand, renewable energies, and on the other, the parents of artificial intelligence, in fact, so digitalization and the internet. Do you think we're still at the beginning of this fourth revolution?
So from our point of view, they started, yes, with the emergence of internet in the late 90s, and then arrival of smartphone, mobile devices, beginning of the year 2000s. And then we've developed many other things like the cloud computing, access to data, new algorithms. And so this means that it's a large trend that started 20, 25 years ago. And since, let's say, 2022, we saw at a very large scale for public applications, of course, the emergence of ChatGPT. And this is, of course, I think, a perception that this is accelerating.
Okay. So coming back to AI, to the artificial part, what is artificial intelligence actually in sort of computing terms? How does it work, quite briefly, if you can?
Yes, so artificial intelligence is a discipline where you mix mathematics, computer science, and hardware computing. So this is a set of tools, a set of techniques, I will say a zoo of algorithms that are here to mimic some of our human-type behaviors, like recognition, pattern matching, decision-making, knowledge search.
Learning
at some point. So we are here with different techniques that mimic some of our ways of thinking and the ways of communicating.
Okay, right. So that's sort of the mechanism. And in terms of what AI can do, are there things that AI can do today that we as humans actually can't do?
Yes, so AI today is able to manipulate very large amount of data. It's able to manipulate terabytes of text, of curves, of images that we could not do on ourselves. So that's clearly the main ability. So quantity. There is another aspect, which is speed. Artificial intelligence is able to decide, in some sense, more quickly than we do, because this is an algorithm implemented in an electronic. So these are the two main features that an AI can do and that we cannot do.
Okay. So, as you've said, in some ways, in fact, artificial intelligence is already surpassing human intelligence. So, are we on the cusp of a major transformation for humanity? Before I get you to answer that, we're going to hear what Yann Lequin thinks. He's chief AI scientist at Meta, so Facebook, and professor of computer science, data science, neural science, and electrical and computer engineering. So let's hear what he thinks before we hear what you think.
Ce que je pense, c'est que l'intelligence artificielle...
What I think is that artificial intelligence will amplify human intelligence. In other words, within 10 or 15 years, everyone will have an intelligent virtual assistant that might even be smarter than themselves. But that's not a problem.
Moi, je suis habitué à travailler avec des gens plus intelligents que moi.
I'm used to working with people who are smarter than me. In fact, I only hire people who are smarter than me.
Et cette capacité à avoir un assistant virtuel,
This ability to have a virtual assistant will amplify human intelligence and will probably bring about a new renaissance for humanity, somewhat like the invention of the printing, the internet, or new means of communication. So I'm very optimistic about this.
Donc je suis très positif là-dessus.
Actually, for the anecdote, that is an AI translation with an AI voice.
Works quite well.
It does, doesn't it? But so, Fabien Mangeant, what do you think? Do you agree with Yann Lequin? And would you say there's really no limit to AI?
So I have the same perception as Yann Lequin on what AI will do. Intelligence is really the way to proceed large amount of data and of information. This will not replace the core of human beings, the sense, the willingness to do something, some of the creativity. But we will have, and I'm sure about that, we'll have assistant supporting us in some intelligence dimensions to cover more data, access to more information, support us in automation tasks, for example.
Okay, so even if it is not yet actually creative, AI is already useful to us. It's bringing us greater efficiency, greater simplicity. But can it really be described as beneficial to societies? It's useful, but is it actually beneficial?
Yeah, so as we said, some of the AI, specific tasks are done by AI and are already beneficial. So best maybe is to give example. The first one in the mobility sector, you have AI inserted in the vehicles to support emergency braking. The AI will be there and will support the decision. The same type of device will help us to understand the state of the road. So using the camera, you will know that you have a pothole at some part of the road, and this will help the infrastructure manager to develop a maintenance strategy. So in that case, I think this is really beneficial. Another sector in healthcare and medicine, AI is supporting diagnosis for radiologists. So you learn different type of disease through an AI, and you will support a diagnosis. And for example, in places where you don't have a specialist, the AI will support a doctor and give a first idea of the decision to take. And of course, then the doctor can support decision with a more specialist.
Is that largely interpreting imagery like X-rays and scans?
Exactly. It can interpret X-ray, scanned, MRI, so that the doctors can see with a large data set and the AI the starting point of a disease. And last type of application also is about knowledge search. So if you are using today ChatGPT, you can summarize, contextualize, try to have a first brainstorming of an idea through generative AI. And so this is supporting a lot of new ways of working, new ways of deciding. Of course, then in the end, you have the duty to check what is written.
Now we talk a lot about generative AI. What's the difference with AI that wasn't generative?
Let's say the classical AI was based on a data set on which you could label, for example, true or false. So you have large data set and you have a knowledge that is implemented through the algorithm. And in the end, you have an answer to predict, for example, a category, a dog or a cat, for example. You can have also prediction of weather forecast. So these are the classical AI. Now we are using a new generation of AI, and to be in very short, that we could define as a stochastic parrot. These AI are trained to generate the next word. So they are here to say, if I am putting in place a sentence, I am using, and then let's say that's the probability to say, I am using a laptop.
So this is like the predictive text that we see in our messages or in our email.
Messages. So this is a new generation of AI that we saw for a few years.
Okay, yeah. This role of the human. And what about the challenges? Because there are challenges.
Of course. So this is an emerging technology. This is pervasive, so we have it everywhere. We have plenty of use cases in our daily life. And first, I would say we have this ethical challenge. Understand what to do, how to do it. So there are many new policies in place with standard and label. And in Air Liquide, we, as an example, we put in place an ethical charter in which we have three main pillars. The first one is about safe AI, making sure that an AI and an algorithm is safe by design. You are not creating an additional risk for safety. We have also everything that is related to the IP, to data privacy, that we want to make sure to control. So it's our first pillar. Second pillar is about people-centric AI. We know that these technologies may have bias, they may misinterpret what they do, and we want to make sure that the decision is clearly well aligned with our ethical rules, with our ways of working. So we use AI to augment the way we work. So that's our way of bringing people-centric AI. And the third pillar is about sustainable AI. There may be environmental impacts that we must control, so use AI in the right way, in the right sense. And also, something that is very important in this responsibility aspect is to make sure that we always have human in the loop. You have human oversighting the way decisions are taken. Even automatically, you always have a concern about someone who will be responsible, accountable for the decision. So that's clearly the ethical challenges that arise at different dimensions.
And how do you manage that?
To do so, there are a lot of governance policies in place, either at the United Nations level, at the OCDE level. We also have plenty of standards that are emerging. And from our point of view, there are different ways to govern. Of course, at an individual level, everybody should be educated to understand, let's say, the usage that are properly understood, that I manage, that I cannot manage, that I want to do or not. At an organizational level, like a company, I just mentioned this kind of ethical chart, but we must be very clear about what we do and what we don't do. And at societal point of view, of course, we have to understand, like emerging technologies, where we want to use it, where we don't want to use it, and put the boundaries that are useful for everybody.
Yeah. So I think basically we can say you're quite optimistic about AI in the wider world, and that's, of course, reassuring. What about Air Liquide's activity? Are you already deploying artificial intelligence solutions within the group?
Yes, we've been deploying artificial intelligence for more than 20 years. We've used different generations of algorithms. And so we've been developing this AI for our production planning, our production scheduling, support the supply chain. So we have a lot of trucks that are delivering our gas to our customers, and we want to minimize the number of kilometers they are driving. This is based on the data we collect. This is based on the knowledge we have on our operations. What we are doing now is we want to amplify this usage of AI, for example, with the emergence of generative AI, to support more what we do in the operations.
Okay. So clearly, 20 years of AI already at Air Liquide, it's not brand new for you, certainly. Where are you going with AI?
So first, we are leveraging more and more the data we collect. So our plants are connected, our trucks are connected, the bulks that are on our customer site are connected. And so we have now something like 3.5 billion data points every day coming from the sensors, giving some values of index of state of performance of the different assets that we are using more and more in our operations.
Okay, so growing your database, would that be right?
That's true. So we grew our database, and thanks to these new algorithms, we are also growing the number of projects that we are able to put in production. Today, we have more than 500 projects that are in productions on the different aspects that I mentioned: production, supply chain, customer management, but also inside our support function to do communication, finance, and other things.
So you're doing a lot within the group itself. I imagine you must be deploying AI solutions with your clients as well.
Yes, we deploy a lot of digital algorithms to our clients. And to give example, first one is to predict the level of usage and the state of health of our assets which are located on our customer site. So we are able to predict their consumptions. We are able to anticipate maintenance actions on our customer site to make sure that everything is fully clear and operable. Another example is customer relationship management. We have plenty of ways of interacting with our customers, with our sales representative, through digital devices, through websites, through mails. And we convert all these informations into something that is very activable to understand the mood, the satisfaction, dissatisfaction of our customers to make sure that we're able to manage in the right way what we do with our customers.
Okay. So that's for your clients and for your patients. How AI can help?
We have more than 2 million patients who are using Air Liquide devices or who are working with our nurse and technician. And so we collect data from the device, from the respiratory, to understand are they good with the treatment? Are they comfortable with a mask, for example? And if we see that it does not fit for any reason, we are able to operate and to activate the right action at the right time.
So again, all of this is by collecting data in effect.
Exactly. This is by collecting data and by putting in place some decision rules, some algorithm that enable humans, so nurse, technician, sales rep, operators to take the best decision.
So we can see the advantages that AI can bring, but AI is a major energy consumer, isn't it? Doesn't this new step forward risk exacerbating the climate crisis?
That's a very big concern on which we are very careful. As I already mentioned, we have that in our ethical chart. Make sure that we are not damaging more, of course, with AI. That's obvious. And what we are monitoring is, of course, the usage of AI. And what we think at Air Liquide is that we have very impressive applications with AI that will support our transition path to carbon neutrality. And to make it very clear, we are using a lot of energy to transform air into industrial gas, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and so on. And we want to minimize, of course, this environmental footprint. So we use AI to work on a weather forecast. We try to minimize the usage of energy, better knowing the state of health and the operations on a plant. And for that, we want, of course, to be better using AI than non-using AI. And in front of us, we have plenty of challenges because we will work more and more with renewable energy. These are variable energy. You cannot predict in details what is going to happen. And so we have to put in place more and more flexible operations. And AI and digital will help us to do so. So in the way we are first consuming energy and in the way we are also serving our customers who will also work with renewable energy. So AI will adapt our way of operating in the future and make sure that in the end our carbon footprint is lower than without AI.
Okay, so in fact, the benefits that your AI usage bring to your footprint counterbalance.
It must be more than counterbalancing. We are on this way of going towards carbon neutrality. And in the end, AI, of course, will be part of the global balance. So if we use AI, we will not change our trajectory.
But there are risks, aren't there? There are risks linked to artificial intelligence.
Of course. So this is a new technology coming with new risks. The first one that is, I think, of course, very well known to a lot of people, but this is the one related to manipulation of information. So the most famous one is about deepfake. You can generate false text, false sounds, false images, false videos. And of course, this can bring a lot of blurry situation for everybody. One other example is that you can use AI to amplify some informations. And for example, in Paris, 1 year before the Olympics, there was a campaign stating that bed bugs were everywhere. So that's true that you have bed bugs in Paris, but not that much. So you can amplify some information. So this is also something that you can amplify through AI with these new tools.
By sort of flooding social networks and so on?
Of course. So this is something that is AI plus social network, but AI will amplify that because it's much easier to do it with AI than without AI. Another type of challenge with this new technology is, of course, the bias that you can have using AI. So you may have in the learning phase, in the data set that we use to teach the AI, bias in terms of gender, in terms of situations. And for example, if you use an AI to support a workplace and you are in a workshop in an assembly line, you may have learned everything based on historical data in a situation in which there were mainly male people. So they were used to do things with a device in such a way that when you come with a female, of course, this is not well adapted. So you think that AI will help you, but in the end, the initial data set was biased.
Okay, so all of that really can generate mistrust when, on the contrary, you actually need trust if you want to move forward, don't you?
Of course. So we will have to gain this trust with our employees and the public. And so for that, we will need to put in place a lot of things. First, to make sure that we have adoption. So being educated about this technology, being able to test the technology, know the limits, make sure that sometimes it can overpass, sometimes you can see when it fails. So there are many things that are very funny for that, understand and try to make it hallucinating. And from an interest perspective, we have many things. We have to develop a lot of techno bricks that will enable to monitor, to trust the data that we are using. So we have many attributes that are going to be developed about explainability that I already mentioned, transparency, robustness, monitoring, and all these bricks are essential before we put in place industrial solutions. To do so, we have been very active, and we will continue to be very active in a consortium called Confiance.ai that embrace these industrial challenges for AI that are put in place in industrial solutions.
This is a French consortium?
This is a French consortium, but that is deployed also with UK, Canada, Australia, and that is to be developed now at a European level.
So let's imagine that this will work, that we will get public trust, the public will embrace AI. In that case, what do you think are the most significant changes that you foresee over the 5 coming years?
What I dream about is having an AI that will help me in doing some very repetitive tasks, that will help me support some more creative tasks. But in the end, I will keep the control. So I dream about a technology that will assist people, that will augment their way of playing, working, but making sure that we keep the control out of it.
Okay. Well, there's a vision. Thank you, Fabien Mangeant. Thank you very much for your expert insight.
Thank you very much.
Are you thinking, I want in? Do you want to work in artificial intelligence to make a difference to the future? Join Air Liquide. Click on the link in the podcast description and check out all the opportunities. And if you've learned as much as I have in this podcast, do give it a like and especially a share. But why stop there? We have experts sharing their insight into microchips, home healthcare, and net zero carbon. And you'll find them all here where you found us today. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming episodes. So let's talk about the future soon.
Let's talk about the future. Exploring tomorrow's challenges today with our experts. A podcast by Air Liquide.